the GenAI in TeacherEd Summit 2025?
Looks like they are getting together to work out how to use us.
We better watch what they are doing then.
Now we are moving on to the most fantastic Georgia, who joined us at Oxford recently for our presentation there. And Georgia is a lecturer in primary mathematics at Reading, and she has developed a wonderful teacher prompting framework, which no doubt she will now tell you all about. So over to you, Georgia.
Thanks so much, Victoria. Can everyone see that screen of a PowerPoint? Fabulous. Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Georgia Aspinox. I know it comes up as Aspinall on the Google thing that we're all on, because when my husband and I got married, we merged our surnames, which is why I have a very similar but slightly different surname to I used to have, but it's Aspinox now. So in this session, I want to share with you all just a few practical ideas of how you can elevate your teaching as a lecturer and theirs, as in the trainees that we teach, with AI. So it's just a lot of shiny stuff that I've come across over my learning journey with AI. So those are the two things. So examples of how I teach trainees about GenAI and how I use it as a lecturer. Slight health warning though. Here is a magpie wearing learn plates. The point of this talk is for you all to magpie from me. I like shiny things. I'm sure you as teachers always like shiny things too, and nifty ideas that you can learn and develop and use to create your own brilliant ideas. But just a reminder that I'm on my own learning journey with AI, so I might be way behind you. So this might be a talk in which you find nothing new or interesting because you already know it all and you're further on in your learning journey than me. So apologies if that is the case for you. You may go and have your lunch or go and catch up on Netflix during this instead. But hopefully there's something in here that might be of use to some of you. So first of all, examples of how I teach trainees about GenAI. So my experience over the past couple of years of working with trainee teachers is that the trainees reported in general much lower levels of AI use than I expected. It was along the lines of, oh yeah, we've heard of that, but I've never had a go at it. I wouldn't know where to get started. How do you even use it? Can we trust it? All those kinds of questions. So I realized that we needed to kind of go back to basics with actually, well, this is what AI is, and this is how you might potentially use it, but use it safely and ethically and all the rest. Some trainees and some of my colleagues had really high levels of mistrust of it. And in some cases, even amongst my colleagues, were very wary and reluctant to learn anything about it. Which I think was an interesting choice and something I'm trying to kind of gently tackle, because I think even if you're not going to choose to use it yourself, you still need to know about it, and in order to keep, if nothing else, our children safe when they are using it, and we as teachers need to be aware of the risks that are involved there. I will explain the meaning behind this image of a dodgy AI image of interactive clocks in a moment, or will become clear. So I thought, so we need to go back to basics. How am I actually going to teach trainees about how to engage and use AI tools to start with? So I came up with a prompting framework, just to teach them this kind of simple skill. But I wanted to make sure that I was doing it in a way that put the human in the loop, so that they knew when they were engaging with an AI tool that they were the most important person in that conversation. The other person wasn't a person at all. And they are still accountable for anything that is produced by the tool. So this is the prompting framework I came up with. Teachers are superheroes, so it always makes sense to have an image of a teacher as a superhero. But this H is because it's emphasizing the human in the loop. As part of this prompting framework. So the top 4 boxes are the initial prompt. So what's the task? What do you want the AI to do? Where does the expertise come in? So are you going to ask it to adopt a role like an experienced Senko or an inclusive practitioner or an experienced year 2 teacher? What's the role you're going to give it? Or, and I wanted to make sure this was kind of in part of my teaching on this too, add in your own expertise. there might be something that you know a lot about, and you can't necessarily kind of expect an AI tool to know that that's the way you think about things or the way you see things. So bring in your own expertise too, and you'll get a much higher quality product, something output, something that you appreciate much more. Then the audience, who's it for? And then the conditions around it, how do you want it formatted, that kind of thing. And once you've set that prompt flying and it's working on that and it gives you an output, then comes the human, right? So here we are, we're the human, we're going to engage critically with this output. Is it what we wanted? Is it safe? Is it representative? Is it effective? And then after you've done that kind of check, what am I going to do next? So is the user going to edit it, so take it out of the tool and change things for themselves, change the wording, or realize that actually this is completely inappropriate and not what I want at all, so I'm going to put it in the bin and do it myself? Or can we go back to the tool and ask for refinements? So what follow-ups can you put in to the product that it's created to make it exactly what you want? So let's look at an example. So here's the initial prompt where we want it to cover the task, expertise, audience, and conditions. Here's an example. Write a social story for a 4-year-old who sometimes bites when overwhelmed. Use a dinosaur character who is learning to cope with big feelings. Keep the tone warm and reassuring. Here's my question to you, the audience. Do you think in that prompt I have covered the 4 things that I said we need? Do I have the task in there? Do I have expertise in there? Have I told the tool about the audience and the conditions? Everybody's saying no. What am I missing, guys? I'm seeing some thumbs down. Somebody said no expertise. Now, that's really interesting because that's sort of what I've been learning in my use of the tools, is that you don't necessarily need to tell it to act as a particular expert. You can still include your own expertise in other ways. So what I would say about this prompt is it's this. I would say the task is writing a social story. The audience, for a 4-year-old who sometimes bites when overwhelmed. The conditions, keep it warm and reassuring, but I'd say the expertise is this. I'm an expert on that child. I know they like dinosaurs. Here's my expertise. But also with these words, who is learning to cope with big feelings, actually, I think I'm showing there that what I'm trying to get at with this story, it's not about labeling somebody as bad who bites or as naughty. I'm showing that my expertise is I want this to be a story that helps the child learn. It's about a learning journey, and that's what I want the person who's reading it to read too. You might disagree with me, but that's where I'm currently coming from. And I'd love to hear different views if anybody disagrees. So this is what I got. So this is Dino learns what to do with big feelings. And the tool I used, by the way, was ChatGPT. Have a little read of it. I'm going to read it in a primary school voice because that's my background. But if you don't want to listen to me, put your fingers in your ears and just read it for yourself. Dino is a small, friendly dinosaur with a big heart and sometimes big feelings too. Most days, Dino feels happy. He likes building tall block towers, zooming around outside, and giving the softest dino cuddles. But sometimes, Dino's tummy feels tight. His hands get wiggly. His head feels loud. These are big feelings. When big feelings get too big, Dino sometimes wants to bite. Biting is Dino's way of saying, I need help. But biting can hurt people, and Dino doesn't want to hurt anyone. So Dino is learning new ways to help his big feelings calm down. When Dino feels a bite coming, he can try taking a big Dino breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, slow and gentle. Squeezing his hands, squeeze, 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 let the energy out safely. Using his words, I need space, I feel cross, help please. Biting his chewy toy instead. Chewy toys are made for chomping, friends are not. Dino practices these things every day, and everyone around him feels proud because Dino is growing, learning, and trying his best. Sometimes Dino still feels overwhelmed, That's okay. He can try again next time. He's not a bad dinosaur. He's a learning dinosaur. And with each breath, squeeze, word, or safe bite, Dino feels a little calmer, a little braver, and a lot more ready for whatever comes next. So we've got that initial output, and then we go back to that framework and think, right, how am I going to edit and refine this? And I think that is completely down to you as a teacher. This is a hypothetical child. I'm not actually working with this child, but if this, in a general sort of way, I think this is pretty good actually, and this is probably something that I'd be happy with. But of course, knowing the situation better, if it was a real situation, you as the teacher would want to go in and make some edits and potentially refine it too. But for a first go, it's absolutely not bad. So hopefully that prompting framework is helping the trainees that I work with have a bit more of an understanding about how they should be engaging with AI tools. Right, the next thing I'm going to talk about is Claude artifacts, which is something I've just kind of become a bit obsessed with. And I've been teaching my trainees about it, and they've become a little bit obsessed with it too. So if you already know about Claude artifacts, this is definitely time to go get yourself a cup of tea. But if you don't, then stick with me. So Claude artifacts, if I go on this here, oh, I need to share a different screen to share it, sorry. Bear with caller. So here's my Claude account. Claude artifacts is basically a way of vibe coding and making apps that you can use to make interactive or visually amazing kind of things. So for example, I said to Claude, make me an artifact of an interactive clock for a year 4 lesson on telling time. Probably wasn't thinking very much about my prompting framework there, but it did the job all right. So here's what it made. It made an interactive clock literally within seconds, because it just coded it all for me, something I would never have been able to do in a million years. It's definitely not my expertise. And with this one that it came up with, you can set the time by moving it along this, or you can give it a random time. You can show the real time on it, or you can hide the digital time. There's all sorts of ways it can be used. And that's from me not giving it very clear instructions at all. Actually, if it was something that I wanted particular functionality from my interactive clock that I was going to be using in my lesson, then I could put that in too. I showed my trainees this a couple of weeks ago, and it was my BEd students, and they're all doing an assignment where they have to make resources for the classroom and then talk about how they would use those resources in the classroom. I showed them this, and loads of them have shown me what they've put together for their assignments already. And it is death by interactive clocks. Literally, they're all having a go, and it's just this one. I was like, okay, this is great start, guys. But actually, what AI is really trying to do, or I'm trying to do with it at least, is enhance my creativity. So use this as a starting point. You know it's got this functionality, but now if you know it can do this, go and see what else it can do. Play around with it for yourself. So on the slides that I've put here, I've just put 3 more things that I have made, and I've published. So I will add these to the ask a question, the Q&A. So you don't need a Claude account to access these. If you wanted to customize them, then you would need an account. But go and have a look at these and see if it sparks anything in your particular area of expertise, and if it's something that you could use to be a bit creative with too. My favorite one on there is the apostrophe quiz that I came up with, because as a teacher when I was working, I could never find a quiz about apostrophes that covered the objectives within apostrophes that I'd actually taught, but not the ones that I hadn't taught yet. Whereas obviously with this, you can just make it exactly what you need. Okay, let me try going back to this, to my slides. Okay, so this second section, I'm going to be talking about examples of my use of AI as a lecturer. Just because I have lots of conversations with colleagues about, oh, you're using it a lot, aren't you, Georgia? Like, how are you actually using it in your work? And they're always quite eager to learn about more. So I thought potentially people on this call might want to see a few examples of how I've used it too. So The following are excerpts from my lecture slides where I've used AI in some way. The blue boxes that I've got on each slide describe the way a tool has been employed. And I put those in when I was making this slideshow for presentation today. But then I thought, actually, a box of how I've used AI in this particular section of a lecture, maybe I should just be putting that into my lectures as standard so that I'm being really transparent with my students about how I'm engaging with AI and using it for their lectures. Something for me to think about for sure. And I'll explain why I've included that picture in a moment. So first of all, here's just something from a lecture I was doing, a maths lecture on teaching children who have English as an additional language. And I asked it to describe the different types of words that might be difficult for children to understand. So to come up with some examples and why they might be tricky and need pre-teaching or explicit instruction on in a lesson. And I thought they were great examples. So that's what I used it for there. This one is a quote. Every curriculum choice is a message about who and what matters. ChatGPT came up with that quote for me when I was putting together a lecture about diversifying and decolonizing the curriculum. And it really annoyed me at the time because I was like, oh, that's a great statement. That's a great quote. Who actually said that, so that I can, cite them and link it to literature? And ChatGPT said, oh, no, that was just me. At which point I went, no, okay, somebody must have said something similar, though, that is equally impactful and summing up what I'm trying to say here about curriculum choices. So I then spent a few hours searching the web, trying to find a similar quote. And I couldn't, so I had to use the ChatGPT version. But I think that is what I go back to with this. How do I cite this idea? Is because in the session, the trainees then asked me, oh, that's a great statement. I want to quote that in my assignment. How do I cite that? And I was like, oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe one of you know, and you can tell me. Then this is another slide where, again, it was that session on decolonizing, diversifying the curriculum. And I wanted to make sure that I talked about the idea of making sure you diversify the curriculum, but not othering white boys in the process. And how do we avoid the Andrew Tate effect of boys kind of feeling different outsiders or feeling blamed for things, and that kind of developing toxic masculinity and those kind of feelings. And this is exactly what it gave me in terms of 5 points that I thought were really great, actually, and helped build my own and the understanding of those I was teaching. Then here's a poster that I made using AI. It came up with a title for me. It came up with a tagline of just a project I was doing, and it just completely hit the nail on the head and did it really quickly for me. So I was really pleased with the output there. This one was when I was actually putting together a lesson for, I think it was year 4 children in a local school as part of an ITAP project we were doing. And so this is a lesson for those children, but I just wanted an activity where we could place the parts of the map onto the actual map so that we could think about how the old Anglo-Saxon kingdoms fitted together. So I just asked ChatGPT to take apart this map for me into the different kingdoms, and it did it so quickly. And a kind of activity that would have taken ages for a teacher to kind of put together can just be done so quickly with an AI tool, and that was ChatGPT. And then the very last one, so we've got a little bit of time for a break for everybody before our next session, is this session that I was doing on workload and well-being. And I was talking to the trainees about marking and what effective marking looks like in terms of what's good feedback for children, but also in terms of what's effective in terms of our own workload and well-being as teachers, because we need to keep that in mind when we're thinking about the burden that marking can have on that. So I got ChatGPT to pretend to be a 9-year-old and wrote me a story that had errors in it, like a 9-year-old would make. So, for example, they've not started a new line for the new speaker here. They've got some spelling errors, and I think there are a few other errors. I need to read it again to look at But then I asked ChatGPT to mark it for me in 3 different ways. And I use that as a tool as an activity for the trainees to kind of discuss what's effective in marking and what isn't. And again, it would have taken me a bit of time to think about what is it I'm trying to teach here, in terms of what good marking is and what it isn't. But because I got an AI tool to do it for me initially, it actually helped me develop my own understanding of what I was looking for in this. Because it was kind of acting as a partner with me a little bit in terms of thinking through the learning that I wanted to draw out, and gave me some ideas on that process too. So that's it. Hopefully someone was able to magpie a little bit of something from that. But as I say, you might be further ahead from me, in which case I would like to magpie from you. So if you could let me know any of the cool tools that you've come across, I would love to learn more. And please put it in the chat or share in some way. That would be fabulous, so that we can all learn from each other about how to use these tools as effectively in our teaching and to elevate the teaching of our trainees. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Georgia. You got a lot of celebratory confetti there as well. Look, oh, that's lovely. Look at that. this is really, I love this bit. Yes, Georgia, please can you share your slides and I'll put them on the Padlet. For those people who want to look at the Claude artifacts, I have put those on the Padlet, and the link for that is in the Q&A as well, so you can still access it after this meeting as well. So thank you so much, Georgia, for sharing a wealth of information and ideas there, and lots of things for people to trial. Again, this works if we get feedback from people. So if you try something, it works, it doesn't work, you like it, you think, oh, I'll modify it a bit like this, much like Miles was talking about earlier. So we can kind of iteratively and organically grow a kind of a body of what works and what doesn't as a sector. I think that's one of the ways of reducing the workload and the uncertainty and the expectations upon us as a sector at the moment.
Do you think we got away with it?
I'm not so sure.
Better keep an eye on this lot.